Good morning. We're at Crosby Beach with the Antony Gormley statues. I think this is called Another Place. There are 100 of these life-size statues, all of which were modelled on Antony Gormley's body, which I find a little bit bizarre. And as the tide recedes, they just start appearing. I apologise, by the way, this jacket sort of rustles and it picks up on the mic quite a bit. But if you have a look around, you might just be able to make out all along here little blobs, which are the statues that are becoming visible now that the tide is going out. I think there's one just there. And it's a very bizarre feeling when you turn around and you see a body in the distance and think, oh, where did that come from? And then you realise it's a statue. Its sunrise was about 20 minutes ago. The forecast was for 100% heavy cloud, so I knew I wasn't going to get any colour, which is fine because this is part of my project for minimal, long exposures and or negative space. And I'm kind of trying to do a combination of both at the moment, long exposure and negative space. Actually, and minimal as well, to be fair. The cloud cover is just about perfect. It does look like there's a little bit of colour trying to come through, but I think that just might be my eyes deceiving me. I'm shooting currently in landscape format. I'm at f9. I've got a 0.6 hard grad and the polarizer and the tick stop on. And it's giving me about 30 seconds, which is about right. They're going to be mono. As I said, that was the intention all along. And I've just had to lower the camera because shooting up here, where I had been, the top of his head, and it was just the top of his head, was cutting through the horizon, which I didn't like. By dropping it down, there's a more definitive... that's not quite right. There's a more deliberate... I don't quite know how to explain that. It looks more deliberate that I've lined him up with his shoulders above the horizon. I think it was his shoulders, yeah. Rather than just stabbing a guess and plonking the camera down and going, oh yeah, the horizon goes through him there. I think it looks better with the top half of his body having the horizon run through it. It's a lovely peaceful morning. It's a Friday morning. There's not a soul around. I've been watching the boats go in. I think the fast cat came in, which comes over from the island. That came in at a fair old pace. But yeah, it's really spooky. The more I look, the more of these statues I can see. So I'm going to keep on. It's very strange. You stand still on the sand for more than 30 seconds and you feel yourself sinking. It's the most bizarre feeling. Now this guy, the water has now receded far enough that although I'm getting a reflection, I'm not getting any water around him, so I'm going to have to wander off. I'm probably back up that way because there's a couple that are beginning to become more exposed, and I might put the long lens on as well and see what happens with that. Hours and hours of endless fun chasing the tide. So I've swapped out and put the 70 to 200 on. I'm actually zoomed out at 200mm at the moment. I've put the filters back on, exactly as they were before. 0.6 hard grad, polarizer and 6 stop. I've dropped down to f8 and I'm at 25 seconds ISO 100 as per. I need to move as the tide going out, and it's going out really quickly. The sky is starting to break up, so I'm getting patches, I'm getting patches of light and dark, which the 6 stop is managing to smooth out quite nicely. It's the most surreal thing seeing these bodies emerge from the water. And they are lifelike. It's very strange. So yes, the last shot I did, I'll just give you a quick spin round and show you, because I think it's worked exactly as I wanted it to. So with no post-processing, that has worked out almost exactly as I wanted to. I had to raise the tripod slightly for this one to stop his head dissecting the horizon line. I wanted him, he was just, you can just make out, he's all under the horizon line, which is just what I wanted. The horizon line itself is very, very undefined. That will get easily sorted in post. And again, I may well pop up the post-edited ones and the pre-edited ones. That's better. Now, as you can see, the sky, or the cloud in the sky, is beginning to break up, which for the type of images I'm after is possibly going to cause a little bit of a problem. Turn the VR off, the vibration reduction. Vibration reduction on a tripod works against itself because it continues to work, but you won't get any vibration because you're on a tripod. The tripod is steady, unless it's blowing gale force 10, of course. So the vibration reduction is still working, and that will give you slightly soft images. So always turn your vibration reduction off when you're on a tripod. I've had to put the rucksack back on me because I'm stood in a really boggy place. I really need to get a protective bag for this when I put it down. But I have moved the f-stop up to f10 and the time down to 20 seconds. And with the previous images, I had the statues on either the left or the right hand side, using the opposite side as the negative space. On this composition, I'm shooting this little guy here. I'm in portrait, and I have him slap bang in the middle of the composition. Let me just show you. So for this one, that exposure worked really well. No blown highlights. And that is as slap bang central as I can get him. A lot of people use the histogram when they're shooting. I don't, well, the Nikon D7200 doesn't show the histogram when you're in live view. So I just rely on the blinkies. I'll set up what I believe to be an accurate exposure. I'll generally trial it by setting the camera to auto, seeing what exposure time that's giving me, and then I'll adjust the exposure time very slightly because I find when I go into manual, you can tweak it. I want it a little bit lighter, I want it more high key, so I'll just up the exposure time. And then I'll always keep the display to show me highlights. So if when I look at the image once it's taken, the whites are blinking at me, I know it's overexposed, and I just turn the exposure down. And yet again, the tide is fair racing out, and I'm beginning to lose now most of the men. Really happy with this last image. Really like that. So I'm going to have a hunt around for some more men that are still in the water. Yeah, I can't find a setup or a composition where I can get 3 men leading out. I'm sure there is one here somewhere. Might be one there, I might have a go at that. Because I'm shooting on the 70-200, the first man will be in focus, and then I'll get fall off on the rest of them unless I do an image stack, which I really can't be bothered to do. Quite like the idea of having focus fall off. So the further you look through the image, the less in focus it becomes. Sounds good, doesn't it? Now, I haven't managed to find an image with 3, but I've managed to find an image with 2, and I'm using this guy here. I've zoomed out to 70mm, so he's quite prominent in the image. Upped it to 25 seconds exposure time. I'm just starting to get blinkies, so probably 25 seconds, up it to f11. That'll probably cure that one. I say the tide is now quite a way out. You have to keep moving. Wellies are essential. Wellies or waders. And there is some gorgeous light hitting over on the far banks. Absolutely beautiful. I can see all the buildings lighting up. I could do with some of it here. Just to put a bit of depth onto these men. Yeah, that's better. There's a very faint horizon line that will Photoshop out quite nicely. Quite enjoying this. Except for getting stuck in the mud. Well, that was quite a successful morning, I think. Excuse me while I just unhook you. Oh. So now it's time to pack away and get back to the van and clean half a ton of sodding sand off my bag again. But yes, I think that was quite a decent morning, other than sand getting everywhere. I say the light didn't appear, which I wasn't expecting, but that's worked quite well. Oh, lee polarizers, pain in the bum. Try and blow the bits of sand off. That's worked quite well for the images that I had in mind. I think I've got 2, maybe 3 that I'm quite happy with, which is good. And it is a place just to keep coming back to. I believe it's really classed as more of a sunset location, and I've yet to try it at sunset. And it's nice to get some use out of the 70 to 200. It's not a lens I tend to use that often with landscapes. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little visit to the Antony Gormley statues. They really are quite surreal. You definitely feel like you've been watched the whole time. Right, breakfast. See you later. Hello! Well, this week's viewer's image comes from Izzy Cardinia. I'm having to keep referring to my phone on this one because I want to make sure I pronounce everything correctly. Yes, Izzy Cardinia. You know Izzy from my comments on your Instagram feed. I love your work, it's brilliant. Of the 2 images you sent me, the one that immediately jumped out and grabbed me was the colour one. And I think everyone else will see why when I post it up. There is a fascinating myth that goes with this image. It's taken at Cape Woolami, I may or may not have that right, in Australia. And it's a place that was revered by the Eora tribe. Now, excuse me if I keep looking at my phone, I need to make sure I get this right. Essentially, it's to do with Aboriginals, I believe. There was a tribe's ancestors would go and wait for these woolami fish to gather at this particular place. And there was a magical woolami that had magical powers, and all the fishermen wanted to catch this particular woolami because it would make all the tribes ladies fall in love with them. But there was a wise and shy albatross, there always is, and he dove deep into the sea and warned the woolami to swim away because somebody was trying to catch them. And they did. And the stones are the fishermen still waiting. They waited for so long that they turned to stone. And they're still waiting there now for the woolami. I think it's wonderful. I'll copy and paste exactly what Izzy has written down below so you can have a proper read rather than my abbreviated version. But the colours are the light bouncing off the rocks. It's a beautiful long exposure. It's just got everything. Thank you so much, Izzy, for sending it in. As I say, you know I follow you on Instagram. I think you do some amazing work, and I'm gobsmacked that you follow me and like my work as well. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy.